Welcome to Make the Game. My name is Matt Hackett, and today we're talking to Robby Bisschop, a marketing and PR expert at Pirate PR. Let's jump right in.
You're listening to Make the Game with Matt Hackett.
Marketing and PR is such a big thing with indie game developers because I think so many of us just jump in and make our games, and then later we're like, oh,
Yeah.
what's PR? I gotta market this thing? Are you kidding?
And then what's PR? It just depends on what they want it to be. It can be press releases, it can be public relations,
Oh, I like that.
whatever we need it to be. And in our case, it's just PR with some extra R's attached.
PR. I love the pirate theme. Pirate PR. You've got this picture that you post everywhere where you're wearing it's funny how just a little bit of pirate gear really sells it. An eye patch, a hat, if you want to put a parrot on your shoulder, get a hook hand, but
And
it's so
if we
easy to
ever
sell a
meet in
pirate.
person, I'm giving you one of these. Wait, where's the camera?
Oh, sign me up for that.
So that's a
Yeah.
metal coin. It's our business card, basically. For the
Oh,
slogan, we
cool.
put the R in PR. And then the Twitter handle, for as long as that's still a thing, and our email address.
That's
And
amazing.
these worked wonders, by the way, in getting new clients because everybody's just handing out cardboard cards that are a dime in a dozen and you lose them. And then these things just stay around. People keep them on their desk because they're fun to fidget with.
Wow. Yeah,
We
right over
even,
here. I have a stack of business cards and there's
and
hundreds.
at some point, you're like, "Oh, I don't want to go through all of them. And you just toss them all out again. And then you start over when you go to a new event.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Wow. So obviously a coin is going to be way more expensive than a card,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you've found that to be worth the investment.
Yeah, and the coin is something we give to potential clients. So what's these? We had thousands of them made at €2 a piece. So that's a €2,000 investment for business cards. That's high, but they stay around, and just having one or two clients already pays back for them. So
That's
of
a good
bigger
point.
clients.
Right. Yeah.
And we actually
Huh.
thought about it because it's difficult to see, but there's a star on the other side, and we made it protrude so they don't stack as well. But also, you can put the star side on your coin and on your desk, and you can just spin them.
No kidding. But that was intentional.
That was intentional.
This is a stroke of genius. You made
Yeah,
like a memorable business card slash fidget toy slash pirate booty.
yeah. And the most fun story I've had is it was just a client for a smaller budget, like we just sent a single press release for them, and that was it. But they reached out to us saying like, I found your coin at Gamescom, and I was like, found? I gave them to people. Yeah, it was just lying at some booth. And at first I was like, oh, how dare they just leave it hanging at a booth? But then afterwards I was like, but someone found it, picked it up, and contacted us because it was too cool to throw away.
Exactly. Yeah, if they found a business card, you wouldn't have gotten that email, right? They would have been like,
Exactly.
here's some garbage. I mean,
And we also went to TwitchCon, and there we went for a cheaper option, and instead of coins, because these are more expensive to make and just not going to hand them out to just everyone. But on TwitchCon, we had pirate eye patches made in paper with our logo on one side and just a silly string on that connects to their face to actually put it on their face as a eye patch, and on the inside had a QR code to become a partner. And then
partner.
yeah, and they give with the question like, "What's your Twitch handle?" So we can add them to the press list if you wanted to.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
It was brilliant, but that conversion was really low because apparently TwitchCon is not full of people who play games. It's just full of people who have an account on Twitch, but most of them aren't gamers, it seems.
So are their games like they like watching the streamers? So they like
Yeah, no,
games, but they
most
don't play
people
them.
there are like just chatting, artist stuff, React stuff.
Oh, really?
Like you'd be surprised how the majority is not really playing games of the bigger ones.
That is surprising. I have seen that just chatting is an extremely popular category. Like I saw it eclipse, League of Legends and Fortnite. And I was thinking, I guess that kind of makes sense because anyone can do just chatting, whereas only certain play like I don't play Fortnite, I don't play League of Legends, and so you're discounting a lot of people just based on the games they play. So I don't
Mhm.
know if that was like, oh, it really is that popular, or it's just because it's so easy and anyone can do it.
Yeah, and then also the ones that do play games tend to only play one single game. So for me, as an indie variety outlet, or sending lots of codes or lots of games throughout the year, it's not that interesting because I want people who play new games all of the time and not just someone who plays one game and that's it.
Right.
Like I'll
Yeah.
never add people to our press list that only play Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite. Like maybe some cases I will see someone who only plays Slay the Spire, and I think like maybe I can convince him on the next big roguelike deck builder. Maybe. But
Right. That's a
but
good
usually
point.
not.
Yeah, I see a lot of people who like all they do is play Binding of Isaac. They've been doing it for years. Like they're a Twitch streamer I followed a while ago. Like they're still playing the same game all these years later. I've been seeing articles going around about how some are wondering if that's hurting newer games. The fact
It
that,
is.
people are still obsessed with, say, Minecraft, which is a kind of an older game at this point. And when you have a new game, you have to not just compete with all the other new games coming out. You have to compete with the last 10, 20 years of huge hit games that are still getting updates.
Yeah. And that's been the case more and more in recent years where wasn't there a statistic recently like only 15% of games played in 2024 were new games and they were just playing older games
Whoa.
on Steam? And then I find this to be in the case of press and creators as well, like they in their free time they will just go back to comfort games and getting them sold on the next game to play is really hard. And then I'm usually using the length of a game, a short game, as a strength and saying like, this will only take you 2 hours of your time or only 3 hours of your time. Because more and more, I always tell people you're no longer fighting for the budgets of people of players because the age went up. Like the average age of the gamer went up from like lower 20s to over the 30s recently. And those people don't have time. They have money, they have a full time job, but they don't have the time to play many games. So they just pick something that they can play with friends, something they can go back to again and again when they only have 15 minutes, only 30 minutes, but they still want to get that one quick game in. I think
Right.
that's also one of the reasons why mobile gaming is on the uprise because that's something you can just like play on the toilet or when you're waiting for something versus
That's
a
a good point.
commitment of an RPG. If I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan and
Oh,
it
me
took me
too.
an entire year to beat Rebirth. An entire year. It came out in February. I had a preview code a week before the game came out. Last time that happened in 2020, I beat Remake in the full week. I just said to everybody, I'm taking the week off. I told my wife, you're watching the kids. And I'm just playing that game nonstop, day in, day out. Still one of my best recent memories, by the way. I had a ton of fun. But then this year, I made some videos. I didn't do a review for it because besides I'm also a freelance reviewer on the side as a hobby mostly. And then for Rebirth, I started playing in February and I only beat it like at 2 days before the last day of the year, like on the 30th of December or something, or the 29th, I beat the game. It's like, yeah, I still beat it this year.
You
Delete
did
from
it.
PlayStation 5.
Yeah, when you're younger, you have time but no money. And when you're older,
Yes,
you have money but no time, right? That's
right.
the cruel nature, I guess, of being a modern
And then all
person.
of those people currently who think I don't have time, but I have the money, they kind of think like maybe I'll get to it when I retire or something, but then they don't have health, which is actually an extra thing in the triangle.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah. Yeah,
Because
the
you think
time you
like
get to
I'll
spend in
play all
retirement.
the games when I'm
Yeah,
old,
right.
but
Yeah,
then you
your
don't have your
body's
eyesight or your
Yeah,
prostate
honestly,
acts up
my
just to go to
hands
the toilet.
hurt at this point sometimes, right? Like if I'll be playing Spelunky, which is a very demanding game. You'll be using your thumbs constantly, and like I didn't used to get cramps, when I was a kid playing through Blaster Master and
Exactly.
Metroid, and
I was playing Taiku no Tatsujin, and I hope I pronounced that right this morning on my Xbox controller, and I was like cramping up at the end of it.
yep, comes with age. That's depressing, but beats the alternative, as I like to say. Getting older is better than dying.
True. That's all hope we get to live to that age.
I hope so. Then we can play our backlog finally. I think that's what it's going to take is retirement before I finally. My wish list right now is 162 strong, and I have at least 100 games in my Steam library I still haven't touched. So it's like, and I intend to, like, it's in the back of my mind. I just don't know when in the world I'm going to get around to that.
I have about 550 on my Xbox alone. And it's just
Whoa.
digital. I still have like physical boxes I haven't even opened.
Wow. Yep. Yeah, I've been whittling down my game collection over the years. I used to have several hundred, mostly classic, like NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis is my jam, and now I'm down to like only 100 or two.
And to loop back to the original thing where we came to this topic is I don't see a lot of people going back to old games they once bought and then thinking, I'll play this today. Basically, they will just go back to their comfort things. And the reason why me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but why we still go back to recent games is mostly because we're in the industry. So we kind of have to stay up to date with what's happening. Like if I'm reviewing games or if I have a podcast where we talk about games, I have to play recent things as well. I can't just play games that are 5, 6 years old. And that's why I
Right.
stay updated. But I don't think that's like for people in the industry or for people who talk about it with their friends all of the time. But for more solitary gamers who just play for their own entertainment or something, they don't have that same kind of drive of staying with the program and playing recent things. They can just play whatever on their catalog. Why would they
Right.
spend 70 or 80 euros even now on the latest game when they can just play something they never touched from their backlog that excited them when they bought that in the store?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you have you found that you need to carve out time specifically to like keep up with the Joneses, like know where the industry's at, know what games are popular, and do you consider that like part of the work? Like, do you schedule that during your workday?
I should, but no. Like my workday officially on paper should be 8 hours because I'm how do you call it? Like I also just get a steady month of what's the term for it? So somebody that gets a
Like a
paycheck every month,
salary
a salary
or
man or something. Yeah,
sure.
like officially on paper, I'm that because I have a mother company above us who handles all of that. But I work easily 10 to sometimes 12 hours per day, and some of that should go into playing those games, but most of it is just like work, and then a new email pops up or a new DM, and I just keep reacting to the thing that then seems the most urgent until at some time an external factor, my wife or something, tells me like that's been enough. So yeah,
Yep. That sounds a lot like a lot of the
but it
indie game
doesn't feel
developers.
like work.
Yeah.
It's still fun to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the feeling from a lot of indie game devs is they work way more than they should, which like if you look at your hour by hour rate, it takes it down. Like the more you work, the less you get paid, but they don't care because they are passionate about it and they actually enjoy it, which is
right.
great. Yeah.
Just for me, just earlier today, getting that trailer live on IGN just before a press release, and then the developer pushing his demo live because Steam wasn't replying to them. Like I love that rush of getting everything done like in the nick of time and still getting everything out. And then for the outside public, they don't see any flaw. It's just like everything went perfectly. Like yeah, but only barely.
Yeah, you're like sweat and anxiety brought that to
Yeah.
fruition. Well, I would love to hear more about that. What's the game and what's the trailer? Is there a marketing beat
And
attached to it?
yeah, so the marketing beat was the demo going live. And then, by the way, props to IGN for this. So I always pitch the trailer first. That's usually the first part of my job actually is I push out press releases, but I realize that the trailer is one of the most important assets for it. So I always give it a close critical eye and give feedback on like here's how to improve the trailer. Most of the time it's make it shorter or remove this boring bit or something, or you're showing way too much UI. People don't want to see it in a trailer, or too many cinematics. Like go for the gameplay and mostly the gameplay. And then when the trailer is good, and I usually have a pretty good estimate of like this will make it onto game trailers only, or this one will be considered for IGN if we can pitch it in the right moment and with the right exclusivity or something. And then that stuff that happens before I send out the trailer, the press release. And I actually have to sometimes not lie, but give IGN a different embargo date than the one I really need them to do, because I want to send out my press release, ideally with a trailer from them, so it looks extra professional with their official trailer banner on it. So usually if I have to send out a press release at like 10:30 in the morning, I will tell them embargo is 9 o'clock, and they can just go live an hour or an hour and a half sooner. And then for this game, the marketing beat was my demo is out right now. And then also the trailer had the demo out now, call to action at the end of it. And props to IGN, because I asked them like, yep, we're good to go. Steam responded that the demo was approved, because he didn't hear from them all this time. Steam still needs to approve it on their end as well if a demo can go up. And he just showed me the screenshot of Steam basically green lighting everything. And I just sent to IGN, okay, you can go ahead. And then the UK person, Emma, she came back to me like 2 hours after this saying, are you sure you want it to go up? Because the Steam page still doesn't show the demo. And I double checked and like, oh, she's right. And I tried to contact the developer, but he's living in the US, so he was basically knocked out for the night. And then he came back in the evening saying, oh, I didn't press the button on my end of things. Like, ooh, okay. So it was really good that they did a double check on their end as well.
Excellent.
And then when he said like, yeah, I published it, it's live now. Okay, sending my email to IGN that they can go live with it. They replied within less than half an hour. So again, really fast. And then my press release went out at 6 o'clock this evening, while it was actually scheduled to go out at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it's still a sweet spot. Like, yeah. The thing is, you can do it press releases. We used to do it that we sent them out in waves, and then you would send them like to the US people only in the US times, and to the European people only in European times. But these days I just send it out like at one good point, and then we'll just see the articles come out at later stages. Like now we'll see US articles come out before we see European ones. And normally we see the other way around, and actually value personally the European UK ones a little bit higher than the US ones, because the success rate is lower in the US to get through to them. They're a little bit more AAA minded than we are here in Europe. And also the timing doesn't matter as much, because they will still push if they were going to push and not like miss it. And then another thing why I prefer the mornings is everybody else seems to prefer that 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock evening time for us in Europe as the moment to send out press releases. But if you're following that rule, you're just one of the 20 emails they get at the same time. Versus ours arrive in a moment when people are not receiving press releases most of the time. And that helps because I'm also on all of those press lists from other people. So I can actually see this happening live in my inbox when like, ooh, now is a really busy time. Maybe I shouldn't be like one of many and wait a bit. And that really helps.
So you find the less traffic times and you hit those when they're getting fewer emails.
Yeah, and then
smart.
A few days later, if a press release underperformed, sometimes it happens because, for example, if you send out a press release at the same time as an event that's happening, but if that same event has 30 or 40 games and they're all sending press releases, then again, you'll be in that crowd. Then the next morning or something, we will just check, like we use a tool called Presley, and I can just check the people who didn't open it yet and send to those people again.
Nice.
Like only to the people who didn't open it yet.
That's a really good strategy. That brings up a great question, which is one of the questions you get the most at Pirate PR is, can you guarantee getting coverage by the big guys such as IGN?
Yeah, and then that's where the feeling comes in. Like I can, if they show me their trailer, I can usually tell them like, this will make it into game trailers for sure, because I'm not going to say lowered their bar or something, but trailers has just gotten better overall because of tools and how people use them. You rarely see very, very bad trailers these days, mostly just that not interesting or something. Like the content could be more interesting, but the production values are high enough. And I get a good feeling for like, this will make it onto game trailers. And if they put it on game trailers, they automatically also put it on IGN.com on the website. But that one, while looking cool, and you can say like, ooh, I'm on IGN, doesn't really get that much views because it's more like a database Like the same location where you see key art or a box art or something or screenshots, you will also see a trailer. It'll pop up in your YouTube search, in your Google searches, but most people don't organically search that one versus the game trailers. YouTube is searched a lot and people actually like scroll through it on a daily basis and see like what's new. And chances for that are pretty good. I think if I look at our press releases, we have like 80 to 90% success rate of getting them on game trailers.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
the
great.
ones where it doesn't happen, I'm usually able to pinpoint them and tell them in advance, like, yeah, I'm not feeling it, and they probably won't as well. And then indeed afterwards, I see that like, and there's also other factors for this where they send me a trailer and say like, hey, can you pitch this to IGN? I'm like, yeah, but it's the same trailer on your own YouTube channel from 2 months ago. Like, if you don't make something new, they will not share it because there's no news value to it. And then sometimes they will ask them to like just change the call to action or like tidy it up a little bit. And then the one I'm sending to IGN will be one that's unlisted. And I will also send them a download link to the 4K version to really like lower the friction for them to do all of the work. I will even give them suggestions of this is like good key art you could use for the thumbnail, knowing where they will put their official trailer thing in the in the bottom left corner, and keeping that in mind, and also attaching the logo so they can put it as large as they want to.
Right.
Because if you look at game trailers and IGN on the channels, you will almost never just see the key art from the game. They always take a screenshot or some other artwork from the game, but never the same thing that the developers are also using for communicating about their game.
Right.
They always make their own custom handle, and then lowering the friction there really helps.
So it sounds like getting your trailer posted on IGN, it's not gonna get as many views or wish lists or whatever, but is it more of a legitimizing thing?
Yeah, that really helps other people talk about it. And sometimes it does help because you can have trailers that go viral. And like I said, game trailers is lower than IGN. So I was mentioning before IGN, the website, but IGN also has their own trailer hub on YouTube. Getting on that one is usually better and even less of a chance of actually succeeding there. That's usually when you pitch an exclusive, like, hey, I will let you put the trailer on your channel live 24 hours before the developer even does. So your trailer on YouTube will be the only possible place to find this trailer for 24 hours. And whoever writes an article about it, they have to use your trailer. Our press release will use your trailer. Like everybody, anywhere, they will have to either link to yours or they can upload it to their own channel, but they will have to say, I found this trailer on IGN. And that's where you pitch the exclusive. And it's not something we do for every single game because I just know it would be too much. And otherwise, I also see the success rate. I know what kind of trailers they're looking for. It won't just be like any old indie trailer, but something that I already went viral or that just looks like high quality and it's never been shared before. And that's for the main channel. But then, like you said, including this is good for us because just people on our press list seeing like, whoa, almost every press release I get from these people is with the official trailer. You must be doing something right. So that's already an ego boost a little bit. But at the same time, it converts better as well because it legitimizes the game. Like in the same way that if you create a new Twitter handle and you start posting, it's not because you're only just posting that you don't get a lot of interactions, but it's also because you don't have a lot of followers. If people see a post by you and they want to know more about you and they click the profile and they see this person has 15 followers, they're like mentally more ready to easily dismiss you as not important yet. And then the magic number there on Twitter, etc., seems to be like 1,000. If they see an account that has 1,000 or more, it's like, this has been around for a while.
Yep.
People engaged with it, they followed it, it's probably important. And then pack mentality or herd mentality, they will just follow.
They want to see that you've done the work and you've gathered a little bit of, so you've got momentum that they could jump off of, right?
Yeah.
You know, with a hit rate of 80 or 90%, like you were saying, of getting those trailers onto IGN, that's amazing. You must have really good intuition for which trailers are going to get picked up and which aren't. Does that just come from the experience you have, or do you have specific things that you look out for that other developers could look to try to do for their trailers?
Yeah. There's some basic things, but a lot of it is feeling. And then basically, if I were just a gamer seeing this for the first time, I keep in mind like of at what point would I click away? Like when do they
That's
bore me?
good.
When do they lose me? The tricky thing is to keep this fresh mindset when you're looking at multiple versions of a trailer for a client beforehand. Because every time they send you a new version, you have to try and look at it with fresh eyes and going like, I've never seen this before. Go. And that's the hard part because you have pre-existing knowledge of like, whoa, this is 10 times better than before. And then you're easy to think like, okay, so it's good enough because it's 10 times better. But is it? And then
Right.
sometimes it still needs that extra tweak, which could be like timing in the music hitting the right beats or something, or just what's being shown.
That's a
Some
great point.
easy, some easy ones, and that you everybody listening will probably have heard a few times, but still it happens. Don't start with your company logo.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised how many people still do it. A recent example was with Parkour, which you can agree is a really cool title for a game. And they also started with like Varsav Studios, and the feedback was given to them like, yeah, don't start with your studio logo, but they really wanted to make the studio like a known entity, so they incorporated into the game. So Varsav was written on, like how do you call it, the lid on a sewer grate or something. And that's what
Right.
like the first shot was that sewer grate with Varsav on it, and then panning, and then you saw the dog running on the wall because parkour.
That's pretty good. At
Yeah,
least
and
it's
my
like
feed
diegetic and part of the game world there and like
exactly.
related, not just totally separate, like, oh, here's this thing, and then separately, here's a game.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, if you're making a trailer for the Nintendo Switch, for PlayStation, for Xbox, you're gonna have to follow some rules. And that rule is always start with our pflum or click, or I can't
Right.
mimic the PlayStation sound well, but basically their opening sound.
Yeah.
And you will have to use this. By the way, it's really funny how they have these rules of you have to use this, but when you are talking to them, it's not like they give you a kit with like, here are all of these materials. Like most of the developers I know, they just downloaded a YouTube video where it's already in there, downloaded the YouTube video in its entirety and cut off the first or the end or something like the important bits.
Yep.
And like, we need this in our own video because they have
That's
this
too
very
funny.
strict rules, but they don't really easily provide it like, here is the template, here are the rules to follow or something. Usually it's after you submit the first time your video that they will give feedback like this has to be better, or the Nintendo Switch icon was covered by a green leaf for like 1 pixel. Up, denied.
Yes,
Stuff
I've
like
heard of
that.
that. Yeah, I podcasted with Derek Liu, who's one of the most prolific indie game
Yes.
trailer makers.
And his article is also the one I sent to everybody because he has a single article where he goes over all of the requirements for all of those platforms as well. And
Yeah, like
he does a better job at explaining it than all of those platforms do
yeah,
themselves.
yeah, his resource is like more useful than the official like Sony themselves or Microsoft or whoever. Like yeah.
I don't know
He's
if it's in his article as well or if I found those externally because I don't know if you can share them. But like for each platform, there's also so I made my trailer now. Who the hell do I send it to? Is also like very specific procedure.
right.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's submitted via the backend, but most of the time it's basically just email it to this person, and then you have a timeline of if you want it to be live at that time, you have to send the trailer so many days in advance.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like that's where Pirate PR comes in handy. You send your trailer to
Yeah.
Pirate PR.
Yeah. I don't make them, but I do give a lot of feedback on them because I realize how important the value is. And then sometimes I will even greenlight a trailer and say like, this is perfect for your Steam page because it has so much different gameplay things you're showing. But now let's talk
Right.
about the YouTube version that we want to share, which should be shorter, compacter, and more interesting to watch because nobody's going to watch the entirety. And
Interesting.
on Steam, no one is going to watch the entirety as well. But there I basically do the click at random moments trick. And every time I click somewhere randomly on the trailer, it should show interesting gameplay.
That's a great rule of thumb. Yeah, Chris Zukowski of howtomarketagame.com did this study where he watched actual Steam users shopping for games on Steam, and a
Tracking
lot of
their
them
eyes.
Yeah, a lot of them would skip the trailer entirely and go straight to the screenshots because you can just go click, 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 and you get a faster. It's a faster way to view the game. But then even when they did click the trailer, you would see them skip because a lot of times, as you mentioned, their logo's there and the intro stuff and like get out of here. So they go like they skip 20% in, they skip to the middle, they skip near the end, they jump around, and
Yeah.
that's a great point. That's why like every single moment pretty much in your trailer needs to be great because if you have like a down, like, oh, well, I want to have a downturn before we get back to the exciting stuff, like, well, they might have skipped right past the exciting stuff and ended up right in the middle of that dull stuff. So that's
Yeah.
not good.
And if your exciting stuff isn't audio based or leaning on audio too much, like a rhythm game, for example, then that also translates into GIFs. And I always tell people on Steam, like they have a really good compressing tool behind it or something, use more GIFs. Like if you have key features at the bottom of your about the game, like every key feature should have at least one GIF explaining the key feature and showing it to people.
Nice.
And that
That's a
can
good rule
just
of
be
thumb.
the best moments from your trailer cut up into GIFs, but
Yeah.
really useful. In my press release, there's always at least one GIF as well, because you can't embed a YouTube trailer in your press release. Like in my side of things, on the press release that I do on Presley, it's an embedded YouTube trailer. But in people's inboxes, it will just appear as a preview thumbnail. And when they click it, it opens the website. Or you can also
Interesting.
program it that if they click it, it opens directly the trailer itself. But usually I want to send them to my press release so they all the information. But the GIF shows the gameplay right away.
Right. Did I hear Presley? Is that the name
Yeah,
of
Presley. That's a tool I'm using. So if you're not
excellent.
familiar with it, it's basically a MailChimp, but it's more specialized for games press. Nintendo use it as well. I see more and more PR agencies and publisher use it as well. Maybe also partly because I'm recommending it to everybody to use it. And it's only afterwards that I found out it's created in Belgium,
Oh,
where I'm
cool.
from. Yeah.
Well, they should start giving you commissions for all your
Yeah.
recommendations.
It was because I saw in their like partners or something, but I forgot the name for it. Like basically a press outlet for Belgian press, but then not for games, like really mainstream, like the newspapers and TV and stuff. They all get their resources from one single location, and that was like one of the partners they listed. And I was like, that's weird. From all of the
Hmm.
countries in the world that they would list this one, and then only later I found out like, the founder is from Belgium, and most of the people working here as well. Okay, cool.
Perfect. Well, it's kind of a small country, right? You were saying the other day it was just like a few, like you could drive across in just a few
In
hours.
three, yeah, like diagonally, you can probably do in 3 hours from the farther end,
Wow.
most far end to the other end. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I live in California where it's stupid. It's too big. It's too big. Like the whole country's too big. But yeah, so you live nearby. That's awesome. When you send your press release out, what is the format there? Is it PDF or do you send like a link to
no,
say like a
it's
Google Slides or how does that
no,
work?
it's just like Mailchimp works, I guess. It's like there's an online equivalent of it that people, whenever they click an image or like the YouTube trailer, they go to the online version of the press release, and it's basically a web page. But in their inbox, it's just an email. It's an email with HTML formatted stuff in it, like GIFs.
Hmm.
That's also one of the downsides of Presley is that freedom-wise in formatting this, I'm a little bit limited versus on Mailchimp, for example. There are some easy things you can do there, like align left, like having a small a square image and then having
Right.
text aligned to it. That's like pretty basic stuff, but it doesn't work on their side, so I have to work around it. And I basically made this template that I'm still using 2 hours after, almost untouched. And whenever I have people send press releases through us, because that's one of the solutions we have where they write the press release, I send it out. I still make changes to it, of course, to make it better because everybody receiving it doesn't know, is this Robby writing it or is it one of his clients? So the level needs to be high up there. But I
Right.
just basically send them a template that they can fill in a Google Doc, and I can just copy paste it into Presley afterwards and
Excellent.
send it out.
That sounds like a great system.
Yeah, and the reason why I always use the same template as well is also because I want to create a habit for people that receive multiple press releases from us that they can just know like half a scroll gets me exactly to the request, the code link or something, or the trailer is always here. And the very first paragraph will always talk about what game it is and who's making it. And there will always be a clickable link there bringing me to Steam, even though that same clickable link is like listed 3 or 4 times more in the same press release. So I don't want people to have to go looking to it. It's like basically it's releasing on Steam. That's clickable and goes to Steam. And then a little bit later, it'll say wishlist here on Steam. And then at the bottom, it will say press kit here, Steam page here, like multiple times, because I want them to wishlist it, even though press and media aren't our main target. Like they are not the consumers buying the game, or not most of them at least. But them just adding it to their wishlist also helps the momentum of just having a few more.
Right. I know a lot of indie game devs like me are obsessed with wish lists. Like I'm trying to gather wish lists for my game Pixel Washer right now, and it's slow going. A lot of game devs that come to me, they want to know what works for getting wish lists.
Yeah, I wish I had a golden answer to this that works every single time. What works for wish lists? Well, first of all, having a really good game, that goes a long way. And then this is the more boring answer, but having a game that people on Steam want, because that's basically the only place where wish lists matter. You have wish lists on Xbox, Switch, PlayStation.
I didn't even know that.
They all have a wish list system. People just don't use it. I don't. I use wish lists on Steam. No, on Xbox I use wish lists, but it's only when I'm browsing the sales and I think this sale isn't big enough yet, and then I'll wish list it so when I get a ping when the discount is bigger. But it's not like to know when a game comes out. But those metrics are also not used. It's not like those platforms are putting games higher up into their order or something because they have more wish lists, that they basically play the friend politics game where they push games from publishers that they know well or people who have connections to ask them like, hey, can you put me in this sale or something? That really helps.
Right.
But wish lists on Steam, things that really work, like getting a good trailer on IGN, that will go a long way, but nobody can guarantee you, not even IGN themselves, like, what will this trailer do? Sometimes you launch one and it will only get a few thousand views. Like on game trailers itself, the average seems to be around 2,000. So if you get more than 2,000, your trailer probably is doing well. If it's less than 2,000, either your trailer itself didn't do well, or the timing when it went up in between other games was just bad luck. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like if I had uploaded the trailer today before the Switch 2 announcement, then probably a lot of my views were consumed by people going like, let's click on that game trailer. Was this the Switch 2 was announced? Click. And they're not looking at like that. That's just bad luck. Nobody knew what time or what hour it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then on IGN itself, sometimes you can get lucky and get into the millions of views. Like earlier this year, we had a trailer for Zoocosis that had 2.5 million views.
Whoa.
Like, yeah, that'll get you wish lists. That'll translate into wish lists, that many. And then even the trailer, and it was the only thing was shared. Like the Steam page existed, the trailer existed, there was no demo. And hundreds of people, lots of them from India, by the way, they made shorts analyzing that very short trailer and saying like, yeah, we saw a monster giraffe, but what are the other animals that will turn into monsters? Let's look for clues. And then those videos became videos with with millions of views. And core to that is just having a game that's visually very, very interesting. Like here you had a monster giraffe that walks around like a spider, visually interesting. Later in the year, we worked for Schim. Every screenshot or video you see for the game Schim, and for people who don't know it, it's the game, you probably already saw it, where you jump from shadow to shadow in like an isometric perspective. Every screenshot from that looks like a piece of art. Like it looks really good. The trailers performed well for it. The wish lists also went up in the 200,000 and above. But then you would even see people, because it's so visually interesting, there was this one person with like 8,000 followers on TikTok, no, on YouTube, like 8,000. That's okay. That's nice that you have 8,000, but you don't expect anything viral from it. But then he made a short, and that short had 3 million views, and it was the best viewed short in the world for the game.
Wow.
With 3 million views, and to say this, like, don't never downplay the small guys. Like, they could be your trigger to success as well. In this case, that was the case for Skim. Like, was one of the best performing views. That got us on wishlist as well. And then sometimes you will even see coverage that you as a developer might not like, but it will still be a wishlist canon. Concrete example here was when we launched the Steam Next Fest trailer of Voxlands, now renamed to Voxile for some legal reasons, I think. So on IGN, it was uploaded, and I was surprised because this one I would have guessed they would put on game trailers, but probably not IGN because the trailer itself was shaky. The game was interesting. It was basically Minecraft with guns. I'll get back to that later. And the game itself was really interesting, looks really good as well. And like also wondering what magic they're pulling off that it runs smoothly, even on my laptop. But the trailer was a little bit shaky, could have been optimized more. I didn't also have my usual feedback round on it, and it was basically like, no, we don't have time. This is the one. Okay, I'll send it out as such. And they uploaded it to the main IGN channel. Didn't get a ton of views immediately, but I think we ended up at like 180,000 or something.
Wow.
Which is good. But that was a contributor to the wish list. But I think the biggest boost came from 2 gaming Bible articles. And
Really?
most people are not the biggest fan of them because they basically write clickbait articles, as they did here. And then for people around in February last year, the biggest trending game was Palworld. Like Pokemon, but with guns. So they wrote an article saying Minecraft, but with guns. And then the developer was like, they're oversimplifying my game and they shouldn't compare it to Palworld. But I was like, what does the graph of your wish list look like? Oh, it's spiking. So let's just go by there is no really bad press old statement and just let the thing do its thing and look back and enjoy the wish list going up.
I saw something from I want to say it was Finji, where they were saying what they like to do is put something out there and then the fans will tell them what it is or how to sell it.
Yeah.
And an example being like Overland, I think was their kind of dystopian turn-based tactical game, like survival game. I hope I'm getting that right. And they didn't know exactly how to position it. They didn't know what to say it was to sell to people in an exciting way. And they were showing it at some event like, E3 or PAX or something. And one of their players was like, oh, this is great. It's and they like nailed it, like just it flowed right out of their mouth. It was like the perfect way to sell the game. It was something like, oh, it's like a dystopian road trip where you help people and save dogs or something like that, and they were like, whoa, that's great. Obviously wasn't that exactly, but that makes me think of how you were saying the was it Gaming Bible? Like they came up with maybe a better positioning, like a good way to sell the game, and that can be useful too.
And it's also that's usually the game plus game equals this new thing is something I almost never use myself in press releases, but I try and kind of push people to it by using the same vocabulary as one game usually does, and then a little bit lower the same vocabulary as another game usually does. And they'll usually come to the conclusion themselves and think they're pretty smart for coming to the conclusion without me basically telling them. For example, for Ruffy and the Riverside, I would say this is Banjo-Kazooie plus Paper Mario aesthetics or something.
Right.
But I don't want to use those well-known games in a press release and just like lean on the popularity of others myself too much and basically let it speak for itself.
I like that. Yeah, I
Does
posted
work.
some advice on my Vladry.com, my blog, where I was like, don't use other games to describe your game. And this is advice I picked up again from Derek Liu. I think he had a talk with someone else, but they were like, they gave several reasons to not do that. One of them being like, if you say it's, I don't know, Fortnite meets Minecraft, that's a bad example. You pick more obscure games right away. If people don't like one of those games, they're out. Or if they've never heard of one of those games, they're out. And it can also,
Or if there is one thing they really like about the game, and then they start thinking, this is the game that has that as well, and this is just the one feature you dropped, then they'll be disappointed and they will complain about it.
Exactly
And
that.
that's
Like
suddenly a negative Steam review.
right. If you say it's like Minecraft meets something else, what Minecraft means to you might be something else to someone else. And they might be like, you said it's like Minecraft, which means it has a million features. Yes, it's got online multiplayer. Yes, you can there's a creator mode. Like Minecraft does everything. It's practically a platform, like even beyond a game. So saying that can be dangerous because you'll set up the expectation for your game to let the player down. So that's
Yeah.
kind of dangerous. So it sounds like you're
Yeah.
of the same mind where you don't mention, but like it's contextual though. Like sometimes it's appropriate. Like sometimes you do want to mention another game,
I
right?
don't use it in a press release because that's officially what most people will just copy and paste and base their own writing on. But if I'm pitching that press release directly, I will use it. Like again, the recent example from Ruffy and Riverside. In the press release, I didn't mention it, but now that we have a demo coming out and we are sending keys in advance to people, I am customizing the message I send to each individual person a little bit, and I will say like, you'll probably like it because I know you're one of the biggest fans of Ocarina of Time. And do you know what? The developer
Right.
even has a live, like extremely large sized 3D printed Ocarina of Time cartridge in his own house. Like I'll
Right.
use that as something to convince them. Or if I know that they played, for example, Born of Bread recently, and that's like an RPG that looks a lot like Paper Mario, then we'll
Hmm.
also bring that up in the pitch, saying like, you'll probably recognize some things of the game, like inspirations from it, because it's basically this game that you like, plus there are also some of the aesthetics from a Paper Mario game. And I'm just bringing that up then because I know specifically what they like about that game and I'm bringing it up. But it's easier if I'm talking to one person
Yeah.
versus if I'm talking to a group of people.
You know that they've heard of it rather than
Yeah.
you say the name of a game and they're like, wait, what's that? And all of a sudden you're having to explain someone else's game
Yeah.
instead of your own. You're out there selling, StarCraft or something.
Yeah. If I'm pitching to a YouTuber who doesn't just say like I like Zelda games, but they in their bio say like Ocarina of Time is my favorite Zelda, that's like aha, a hook.
Yes.
And as
Yeah.
pirates, we like hooks.
Yeah, I have a big spreadsheet that I'm adding to over time of just people who've played and enjoyed Power Wash Simulator. And
Yeah.
I know they know the game, and I'll be like, hey, Pixel Washer is a little bit like Power Wash Simulator. If you like washing stuff, but obviously a lot of differences, and that gives me an opening. They're like, oh, I like Power Wash Simulator. And like, well, I can tell you how it's similar to Power Wash Simulator, but how Pixel Washer is different, because obviously it's very different than that. But I know that there's that shared context where I don't have to
Yeah.
sit there and be like, oh, okay, well, Power Wash Simulator is this
And then
game with blah blah blah.
a little tip for you in that regard is if you have a channel like that that did multiple videos on Power Wash Simulator, watch the very, very first video they made for the game because that's usually the one where they share their opinions of what they like and don't like about it.
Hmm.
Afterwards, they will tune in and they will keep playing it, and then they will go for side things that keep them playing, like, ah, so satisfying, another achievement or something. But at the very first, like the 10 to 20 minutes of them opening the game for the very first time, that's crucial because that's when you learn why they kept playing it. And also why you
Interesting.
can try and do the same thing in your game.
Interesting. Yeah, you can see what they didn't like about it, and I could be like, oh, well, my game doubles down on
Yeah,
that part they didn't like, so maybe I won't.
exactly.
In that first video,
Yeah.
they might at the end of it, they might make a half-hour Let's Play of Power Simulator, but they might be like, okay, and at the end, I hate this game. I'm never playing it again. Like maybe don't contact that person with a similar game because they might not like it.
And then, by the way, if they do something like this and say, I don't like this game, or you get like a negative vibe from it, watch their second and third video as well. And this is a lot of research, I know. But sometimes you'll hear things like, because someone in my community asked me to keep playing it, because trust me, it gets better. And then
Yeah.
you can also use that and like either get to the good stuff that they like quicker is one thing in the game itself, or already just be honest about it and say like, yeah, it takes some get like you'll need to get into it first before it becomes satisfying or before it becomes something that you'll really enjoy. But trust me, you'll
Yeah.
get there.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that a
And
lot where someone will say like,
this
"Oh, you just gotta get
works.
past the first 10 or 20
Yeah.
hours and then you're really gonna like this game." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't. Like, I'm
I
never gonna get
think
there."
like I mentioned, I like Final Fantasy games. I
Yep.
think a lot fewer people would have played Final Fantasy 13 if it wasn't for the fan base going like, it really gets good 20 hours in.
Yes. Yep. I've heard
So
that exact sentiment.
they convinced en masse their friends and the people they're talking to like, yeah, I know it's a slow linear start, but it gets really good if you hold on to if you hang in there.
Yeah, just power through it.
Yeah. Ideally, they don't have to, but yeah.
Yeah. This is a question that I get a lot and that I think comes up often when talking to PR and marketing experts is how long do you need to market a game, right? Because sometimes a developer will come to you and they're like, we're launching in a week. And you're like, that's not enough time. I can't do anything
Yeah.
like that. Versus some, especially solo game developers have this habit of being like, I've been working on my epic masterpiece for 8 years, which is a very long time to be continuously marketing. And you might get some people who get bored and drop off and delete their wish list. And like I've been hearing about this game for 6 years. I'm tired of it. So what is enough time to market a game? Do you look at like minimum thresholds or maximum thresholds, or is it more by feeling?
At the very least, I need a month or like 5 weeks. So it's
Excellent.
like that's the very least I need. And it's usually my game is coming out. What can you still do? And if they tell me my game is coming out in a week or in 2 weeks, then I will just say I can send out a simple press release. You'll have to handle all of the rest yourself, but I can't do my work to your satisfaction if you only give me this much time, this amount of time. I can still send out a press release because it's better than not sending out a press release, but you're not doing yourself a favor by like launching it now. And I usually ask the question, why are you launching it now? And if their reply is because we said it would launch now, then like my follow-up question is to whom? To how many people saw this? How many people cared? Like, yeah, I posted about it on my Twitter. Show me the tweet where you said it's going to launch tomorrow or in a week or something. Like, this is the one. Okay, you got 25 likes on that. Do you really think those 25 people maybe being disappointed weighs up against the fact that you're not doing your game the full service that you could be doing it? And then I usually look at the entire timeline with those people and say, like, let's look at this like a positive. Is your game feature complete? Yes. Did you have it bug tested? Yeah. Okay, so use the extra time where I'm doing my marketing side of things to bug test it, to QA test it, to make sure that when people get the game, it actually is good. And when I say people, I usually mean press and media because they get access before everybody else does. But it also means they usually are the first to spot mistakes in it. By the way, I always try, and this is a big word, play test my own games, the one I'm doing marketing for. So I can already be one of the first people giving them like a mock review or like bug fixes, like things like in the first few hours I bumped into these issues, fix them because other people will say the same.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good advice.
but that's like the minimum runway I usually want is like 5 weeks or something, because that allows me to at least do 2 marketing beats, which are the most important to me personally as PR, is announcing the release date of the game. And then when I send out the press release, I do really want them to hold on to it if possible. Like if I'm doing it for coming out on all platforms in 5 weeks and then really saying like day and month, it's okay if one of those platforms comes later because you can actually treat it as an extra marketing beat. Like, sorry, Switch took a little longer, PlayStation took a little longer. It's always those two. Whenever a developer tells me I'm releasing on all platforms at the same time, and I'm always going, "Are you really? You sure about that?" I can show you the list of games I've worked on and the amount of games that told me I'll be on all platforms at the same time, and always like PlayStation is a month later, or Nintendo throws up a last minute QA check where they said like, yeah, check this before first. But that like 5 weeks, I want to say this is when the game comes out. I want to say the forum is now open so people can start requesting codes. Then usually a week later, I'll start sending out codes, not too long after. A week later or 2 weeks later, or basically if I'm doing the review package, which is where I send out review codes, from the moment I send that first press release, I'm basically sending out codes nonstop. Ideally to people who request it from me because I know they're interested. They're the ones saying, I want a code. So those are the ones who are committed. But I also do cold call emails where I send, hey, so basically look at what they played. Or I have a list of people who just told me like, I don't like forms. Send me codes. Okay. And I'll do that. And then you need to know what platform they prefer, etc. So you don't send them the wrong platform that they are not going to cover. Basically, I need all of that time. That's really time consuming to do it. ideally I've been working for the game earlier, because otherwise in those same 5 weeks I also have to start doing my research, like what is similar to this game and who has played that similar game, and do I have those people on my press list, or do I still have to add them?
Right.
That's all research I prefer to do beforehand.
It makes a lot of
I sh-
sense.
I should charge an extra to people who said like, yeah, help me now, and like it needs to be done quickly. I never do, but I should.
It's a
Um,
panic fee.
yeah, an inconvenience fee.
Inconvenient, yeah. I
And
like
then
that.
the second press release, and admittedly, for indies, this one is not as important as it is for the AAA industry. Is the game is out now press release, but it still gets covered. It still gets copy pasted on the smaller to medium sites. You will have a handful of big sites doing an article on it. It's the press release that triggers people to like bookmark it and put it on their shortlist of like, hey, am I doing an article of best games of June or something, or like or even if it's for a demo, like best demos from Steam Next Fest, like that kind of press release helps you put them on the radar again, like a few weeks after you actually they got the code, and then they were reminded like, oh yeah, that came out and I played it and I liked it. Because don't underestimate how many games some of these people are going through on a monthly basis, and how important it is to stay on their radar.
Yeah.
And also for the people on our press list who already got a code, it allows me to poke them about the fact like, hey, you know that embargo that ended yesterday? The game is out now, so that probably means the embargo is over as well. Feel free to start publishing your reviews or your videos.
Right.
Or it can just act as the first time around, it could be that people saw the email, they clicked it, they didn't have time, and then just sending another email later can suddenly be at a better time in their life where they do have the time to play this game, and they will go like, hey, yeah, I was tempted last time to accept the request offer, but I didn't have time, and I do now. So just being in their inbox a second time is already worthwhile.
Yeah. There's this term I came across, which I think is applicable here, called effective frequency, which kind
Yeah.
of boils down to like how many times somebody needs to hear about, and it could be any marketing product. It could be a toothbrush, whatever. But in our case, it's games, is how many times you need to hear about that game before you get into the marketing funnel. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've been hearing about
Yeah.
this. Like I saw one of my favorite YouTubers play it, and then a buddy of mine recommended it. And then like that might not even be enough. You like months might have to pass, and you read about it in IGN, and then another one, and then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
17th time I've heard about this game. I'm finally now gonna go watch it.
I have an article on the Pirate PR website on it called How the Law of Familiarity Helps You Sell Games.
Law of familiarity. Ooh, I like
Yeah,
that.
and basically it tells them also like you want them to hear about the game on multiple platforms. Like if
Right.
YouTube is always the only platform they hear about it, it's less likely to stick than if they also see it at different moments in their day, because people usually use a specific platform at a specific time in their day. But if you get to them multiple times in a day or multiple times in a week at different times, so that means they saw a trailer on YouTube. But later that evening, when they were scrolling on Twitter on the toilet or something, they saw it come by in a tweet again. And then a little bit later, when they are like eating their dinner in front of their computer or something, like if it's a student and they're watching their favorite Twitch streamer play the game, like all of those things stack up. And in the end, you'll be in a mental wish list. Like, even if they didn't click the wish list button on Steam, they'll recognize your game. And then the next time there's like a big sale on Steam or on another platform, and they scroll by it, they will recognize your font or your key art or something, because they've seen it so many times, and they will instantly like categorize it or filter out the ones they've never seen before versus the ones they've encountered a few times.
Right. Wow,
Like
that's
that's
a
how
great point.
the best way to treat all of marketing, and marketing is basically selling feelings, is always how do I feel about games, and how do I look at games, like how do I decide what I'm going to play next. And that's usually because I've seen it so many times, so it probably must be important, or a friend really recommended it to me, or it looks similar to something I recognize or know that I like.
Marketing is basically selling feelings. I love that.
Yeah.
That is so useful. That brings me to a great question from Christoph, I think from Blue Sky, which is what's the most important marketing beat? And so, for my audience who's not familiar with a marketing beat, it's like a big moment in the development of your game, right? The announcement of the name, a teaser trailer, demo date announcement, demo release, launch date announcement, post launch support, stuff like that. Is there a most important one? And I think this question comes from a place of famine, where a lot of the game devs I talk to, again, they don't have like marketing budgets or a dedicated PR person. So they're like, I'm barely holding it together making this game, right? And so they're like, is there one marketing beat I can just focus on that one, or is it only three, or is it like, do they all kind of matter?
No, it differs per game. Like if I were to ask you, what's the most important marketing beat No Man's Sky did? Is it
Oh,
announcing the game? Yeah, sure, because they got millions of people interested in the game. But then it bombed because it was really bad. So was it the press release where it was relaunched, or was it the moment where everybody was suddenly saying, "Hey, this game is good now," and then people started playing it? Like every game will have a different moment. For some people, you'll see the interest spike before the game comes out at the moment of announcement. For other games, it will be the time when the game comes out. And then for other games, it will be months afterwards. Among Us, that they didn't have good marketing beats before the game came out. It got popular by a single streamer sharing the game and saying he liked it after the game came out, and then it spiked into popularity. So that's going to be difficult anytime. And then what's the best way to optimize that is to have as many marketing beats as possible, ideally in as short a time frame as possible, but also not too short of a time. Like not like we're announcing the game and we're doing Steam Next Fest and we're almost releasing the game and the game is out now in like a month time. If you do all of that, then you're screwed most of the time. But it also can be over 7 years because then you're losing interest. And then that wish list number you think is important. You said before, like they might delete their wish list. Well, I think that's the better outcome, that they delete. If everybody who is no longer interested in your game deleted the game from their wish list, would give you a better vision of the possible success than if they would just keep it around and like they're never gonna buy it, but there's still a number, and then that number you make wrong assumptions saying like, yeah, I've got 20,000 wish lists. That's a good number of wish lists, but did you gather them over 8 years? And are those people still fans? Do they still even, like 8 years is a long time. They may have moved on in their life. Do they still have a Steam account?
yeah.
Possible that they do not, or that they just are now on the side of things where they only play one game for their entire life or something.
Right. Yeah, I like to use the word rot in this context, where I'll be like, that wish list, this game was launched on, I mean, not launched, it was the page existed on Steam 4 years ago, and it got a bunch of wish lists right up front, but then 4 years have gone by and there's a lot of rot on there. It's the same for like, I don't know, Twitter followers, YouTube subscribers. YouTube is old. Like you might have subscribers from 10 years ago and maybe they don't use YouTube at all anymore,
Yeah.
right? Newsletters are the same way. Like these ancient email addresses, they don't even exist anymore. So that's definitely a concern, right? Is you actually want the wish lists that are recent and from people who are very interested and like not at all likely to delete your wish list, right?
Like that even brings me to another thought where that works the same way for how I scout for good creators for my games. Like, okay, sure, you can have 5 million followers, but if your recent video only has 5,000, and I realize only 5,000 it's still high. I wish I had 5,000 views on every video I upload.
Same.
But I'm just getting to the point where maybe that person with 5 million followers and 5,000 views, he's not as important as the one who has 100,000 followers, but 20,000 views on every single video. Like that one's gonna sell you more games. That's one gonna be better.
Right.
And the same is true with wish lists. But yeah, to get back to the original question of what's the most important marketing beat, it really depends. But for me as a PR person, but this can be different as what's good for the game. But the two most important ones for me are either announcing the game or announcing the release date of the game, and then the game is out now, because I really need those two as the starting point and the end point of I'm sending out keys. I will still send out keys after the game comes out, but you'll see a steady decline of the amount of people interested in reviewing the game shortly after the game comes out. And then there becomes a natural point in time where it's just more logical that the developer handles all of it themselves. And I just say, like, here's the login, or here's the account, or here's how to do it. Or I shift even my old press releases to contact Robby for a key, to contact developer for a key or something. So they are the ones first in line, and they don't have to wait for me as a bottleneck to handle games that are 2 or 3 years old. But yeah, for most games these days, probably announcing it is a really important one. But that's really for the games that are like there at a really high level from the first moment they announce it, versus the ones that need the player feedback still to find out where they're going. So yeah, sorry, it depends.
No, I mean that's the answer to every game dev question. It feels like, right? It's like there's almost no cut and dry. Like it's very rarely black and white. It's a lot of times it's like it depends on the context. Plus, games are so different from each other, right? Like every single genre of game, and there are hybrid genres. They all have different audiences who expect different things and want different things. So I mean, it depends. Is the it's not the answer we want, but it's the answer we
No,
have most of the time, right?
yeah. I used the bullets in a chamber example at some point, but it was like too visceral. Of like, if you're playing Russian roulette and you want to have a chance at success, like just load more bullets in it. But that's the opposite, because that's not really success, blowing yourself through the brain. But I saw, I think it was Rami Ismail who used it on LinkedIn or something as an analogy. And he said, like, it's like flipping a coin. Like every marketing beat you do is like flipping a coin. But if you do more of them, there's more coin flips and more chances to land heads or tails. And that
Right.
also worked better as a pirate to a flip coin thing. So let's go with that one.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like game developers like me, like solo and indie, are finally getting what's been drilled into us for a while now, which is that it is, you know, the more times you release something, the more chances you have for success. And so we're starting to be like, instead of, oh, I've been spending 5 years in this one game I'm so passionate about, we're instead trying to be more like, I'm going to release 5 games in those 5 years instead of
Yeah.
one game. And that way you get more opportunities to have something that is successful. And I guess you can divide that up too and be like, for each game, pretty much the more marketing beats you have, the more chances you have for something to get picked up. And that can increase
Yep.
the odds of the next marketing beat, which might be bigger
Yes.
and more impactful for that getting picked up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Love it. So I saw a lot of posts for you last year that were very interesting, where you were posting like screenshots of YouTube pages and Twitch channels and stuff like that. And a lot of them where you were like, spot the key scammers, right? Because this is a
Yeah.
common thing. So for anyone who doesn't know, Steam, when you sell a game on Steam, they give you the ability to just generate free keys, and you
Hmm.
can resell those. It's common to put them in a Humble bundle, or you could have, if you buy my game on itch, you also get a Steam key or whatever. But that creates the situation where that key can be sold. And so that opens up this market for grifters and scammers. So, what are key scammers and how do we avoid them?
Yeah, well, if you've made a game, or if you're about to make a game, or if you're about to release a game, you're going to get lots of emails. And sadly, it's not to congratulate you on a job well done, but it's basically an equivalent of "give me keys and it will equal success. Trust me, bro." And then like really badly written emails most of the time. And they will always ask for multiple keys, luckily, because that's a really good spot of like, why would they need multiple? But yeah, you'll get dozens upon dozens. And then towards the release of the game, hundreds upon hundreds of people asking you about keys. 99.9% of them are indeed fake, but you still need to go through them because you want that 0.1% that might just be like PC gamer saying, I want a review key. And if you just bulk deleted everything, like,
Yep.
oops, you don't want to have that. So yeah, basically what I try to do is I try to teach people how to spot them themselves, because I can handle the key requests. Like I can tell people, that I'm sending out press releases, people ask keys from me, I will handle all of those, but they'll still get emails themselves because Steam just lists publicly your email. Well,
Yeah.
I say publicly, but I don't even know where to find that contact information per game, but apparently it's really easy to do because
The scammers know
Everybody
where to
thinks
find it.
they know, they know. Um, but you'll still need to go through it, and then people keep asking me. Like, I usually open up a direct line of contact with me on Discord, where they can send me screenshots or they can forward me emails and ask me like, "Is this legit? Is this legit?" And it always hurts me. Like, why do you even have to ask? It's so obvious. But the fact that it isn't obvious to them, but it is to me, just shows it is a little bit of worth of getting to know things. But yeah, it happens on multiple places as well. You get ski scams. Most of those by email are curators. And I'm not saying the entire curator system of Steam is broken, but it's close to it. For people who don't know Steam curators, on Steam you can have reviews by people who buy the game, but you also have curators who can, for example, pick a genre that they always do reviews for a game, and they get this like 4 lines of text or 280 characters, like the size of a tweet, to say what they feel about a game. I don't really believe they have a lot of extra value, most of them. And then there is a system on Steam where you can actually send them not a key, but basically like your account now has this game in the library, so they can review the game and write their review. And it's the curator backend where they can you as a developer, you can actually handpick people and search for them and say like send the code to this person, send the code to this person, or they can send you a link to their curator so it's more easy, or they can request a key from you as well. I don't think so. No, only the other way around, where you're the one sending them a key. But if a curator is in your inbox asking for a Steam key, why would they need that? Because they're a curator, right? They can use the backend. So if they need a Steam key, and especially if they're asking for multiple ones, it's probably to sell them.
I
Or
did not know that the
if you're
curators
being
have that natural system.
yeah, I did the backend for a few game releases myself when I was still working for a Belgian publisher. And there I would just, like for Journey for Elysium, which was a VR game, I would just hand pick VR creators and just send them activations as well. I even have a curator myself for Belgian Game Awards, because I co-organize the Belgian Game Awards every year. And last year I wanted to have the awards to have extra value outside of just like you win and you're a runner-up or something, but just didn't make the cut. And I wanted to have everyone have value from it, so I made a Steam sale page for the event, and I put that up, and I even got 48 hours of main page, but just in Belgium on Steam, but still was really a success story for us, and hopefully like next time I can broaden that. And by the way, I think we would have gotten that global, like for the entire world on the front page, if I got Divinity Original Sin 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 to participate. But they were sadly the only ones to uncheck the box, like want to participate in the event. Like,
Yeah.
Larian, no, we need you, bro.
Oh, so close.
You're
Yeah, that's
literally our
Steam.
knight in shining armor, Sven. Come on.
Yeah. Come on. Man, that Steam homepage is no joke. It's just
Yeah.
money. When I go to the Steam homepage, I just see money shooting at my eyeballs for every little bit of real estate on there is just getting
And
so
then-
much traffic.
To get to that point, to create an event page, I had to build a curator as well, because you need the account basically. And at that point, you might as well. So I built a curator for all Belgian games on Steam. And now whenever a new Belgian game comes out, there's at least like one location where they can find them. But I don't see it as it's not even a positive or a negative review. I just put like informational, and then we love Belgian games or something. But then people have one link where they can click and see all of the games from Belgium, because it's not like Steam does that. It's not like you can say, show me all games from Germany or show me all games from Italy. I want to see who's making games in my country. There's no system there to do that.
Yeah, there would just be maybe you could find games that were translated or supported specific languages or something.
But Belgium would fall out of that, because what language is Belgium? We have Dutch/Flemish, we have German, we have French, we have English. We speak all kinds of languages here. So,
Right. Yeah.
but if
That's
you
tough.
really want to go like what's from Belgium, then you need a system like this. So there is value in Steam curators, especially the ones who are specifically there. So like there's, for example, a can you pet the dog curator. Hey, if you really want to find all games in which you can pet a dog or yes or no, go for that one. Sure. But if that same account is asking for 5 keys in your inbox, maybe not.
Right,
And
because they
also,
don't need a key at all, because there's a back end where you can just get
they
them
don't
access.
even need the backend. Like I just said, for my curator thing, I reviewed all Belgian games. I didn't get a code for any of them for 0. I didn't ask for access. If you are a curator, you can add for any kind of game you want a review without owning it. The idea from this is maybe the person owns it on another platform, but they still want to review it on Steam.
I see.
Actually, that would actually be better if Steam like made a rule where you have to actually own or have played the game to allow you to review it just like users do. But for curators, there's an exception. Long story short, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it probably has some value. For the same reason, I also don't understand why curators are allowed on key mailer sites. Like,
Right.
Steam is already the distributor here of access to the game without keys. So if you see curators on sites like Keymailer, Press Engine, Lurkit or something, Lurkit not because they only have Twitch, TikTok and YouTube, but on other platforms that allow curators, basically like why would they allow them? Like, what's the point? They're asking Steam keys and those Steam keys can be sold, but they don't need keys. They have another platform for it.
Right.
Everyone releasing a game on Steam is going to be confronted with it, with this kind of scam, and it will always be in your inbox. But there are other scams, sadly.
I know that's coming. I'm launching Pixel Washer later this year. I've launched 2 games on Steam before, and the emails were just hundreds, right, of just the key requests. My current plan as a solo developer is just to ignore all those. Anything coming into my inbox, I'm like, I can only do so much, right?
You can already hide the word curator from it, and it will already remove all of them.
That's helpful. That's a good tip right there. So, but is that an okay decision, or is that not smart of me? Like, am I leaving money and opportunities on the table if I ignore all those emails coming in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's worth going
It's
through.
rare. Like most of the times when you have a big channel covering you, it's because you reached out to them. But sometimes, with a little bit of luck or a miracle happening, they will see something in your game that other people have not yet seen or something. And somebody somewhere sees like, whoa, this could be interesting. I'm going to do an article on it or I'm going to do a video on it. And they'll contact you by the only means that they know how to contact you. And that's either your email or a Twitter DM if you're lucky, or like a Discord message or a Blue Sky message or something, like anywhere where they can find you. But most of the times it's going to be an email. So you still need to keep an eye on them and see like, did someone contact me that's worthwhile?
I see. So really, it's worth the time to get a request and to vet it yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good segue.
Luckily, the timing, like where the scammers are involved, that timing can also help you, because if you see 50 requests come in the very same minute, and maybe you can just go control. The chances of in that very same minute getting the email from the big guy in between those 50, that's very, very small. So then you can just guess and go like delete all or something.
Right.
But if you're
bots, the bots will just see it the moment it pops up in their feed, and you'll get these robot emails in batched.
And you'll spot them as well. Like you'll identify 1, 2, 3 fakes or something, and then you'll see the pattern, and you know, like, okay, I received these 50 with the same pattern in the same time. I can just bulk delete them. But if you're checking after 2 days of focusing on the game and then coming to your inbox, then it's probably not smart to just go Control-A-Delete on your inbox. That's probably not the best idea.
All right. I'm going to change my plans then. I will look at these emails.
But yeah, you can put flags and like rules on if this email contains that word or something. Like if there is NFT or Bitcoin or whatever, or crypto, delete it. If there's curators, you can probably delete it.
I'm all for
I actually give the advice to people who are pitching to me like, hey, can I have a Steam key? I have this curator. And then a little bit later they go like, meh. And I also have this YouTube channel. And then I click the YouTube channel and they have like 2,000 followers, not the biggest amount, but they have a pretty consistent 200 to 300 views on their videos. That's good enough for me to give you a key. You know what isn't good enough for me to give you a key? Telling me you have a curator of 25,000 followers that you may have bought in Russia or China or something. Like, that's not
Right.
gonna convince me to give you a key. But the other thing is, and I always send the code to these people or the information to these people, like, next time, pitch your YouTube channel, like pitch the actual creative thing you're doing, not the I wrote a paragraph of text in half a minute and I called it a
Right.
review.
Yeah. Yeah, the YouTube gives you more data to look at in a more interesting format than just like paragraph of text is harder to parse for that stuff,
Yeah, and
right?
it's not just it's not just numbers and text. You have videos, and then even outside of because I was really looking at the metrics side of things, but it's not the only thing that counts. Like I said, they have maybe 200, 300 views consistently, and that's good enough for me because it probably results in a sale in the end. But equally, I will also give chances to creators who don't have as much views because you never know if you're going to be one of the first people to give them a chance and that launches them. But if you just click some random video of them recently and then click at a random moment and you watch like 5 minutes, you can probably sometimes discover people you go like, wow, they have really good production values or a good opinion or like a good articulated voice or the way they make their videos is valuable. Like outside of metrics, that's good value for you. And you can even ask people like them to champion them and say like, it's happened before for me where I'm like, this person probably doesn't get a lot of views on his own, but damn, did he make a good video? And then I'll contact them and say like, hey, the Steam page is going live soon, or we're participating in Steam Next Fest soon. Can I use your playthrough as the live broadcast on Steam that's looping? And you'll practically see the sparkles in their eyes coming from the email back saying like, hell yeah, you can. And you know you've made their day, but they're helping you as well.
Yeah. You know, those low numbers, I know that they don't get the attention as like a big YouTuber, like, you know, all things being equal, he's like, well, I'd rather have 2 million views than 200 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw someone recently posting about how like, you know, you might put something out there and it only gets 200 views or, you know, 30 likes or something. But in real life, if 30 people walked up to you
Yeah,
and said good job on anything, that would be more positive reinforcement that I've received in my entire life. And a lot of times
exactly.
those smaller channels, those are more dedicated fan bases, right? Because the creator can afford to spend the time interacting with just a few hundred people instead of a million. And something else I've seen is that the bigger, medium size up to the larger YouTubers will often look at what the smaller YouTubers are covering and they'll get their inspiration from there. So if your game gets picked up by a small YouTuber, that could turn to a medium
Yeah.
YouTuber, that could turn to a bigger, and I could get that kind of momentum and that
Yeah, YouTube
snowball
doesn't
effect.
do this particularly, but Twitch really does. Where if you click on a game, on any game, it won't just tell you how many viewers it has, it will tell you how many people are currently streaming this game or how many people
Right.
have streamed this game. So like that's also data. And in that kind of view, it doesn't even tell you like how big were these people streaming your game. No, it will just tell you the total number of people streaming that game. And these days chances are like close to zero, but there was a time when Twitch would actually like highlight some indie games because so many people were streaming it that they were put on the front page. But
Wow.
don't aim for that anymore today because like top 10, top 20 games is all the same games all the time. It's not like you're going to break through that with some clever ads, which is, by the way, still something that most PR and publishers hold on to from like back in the day, but it's not no longer something that really works because they will always say like, let's give everybody videos and reviewers and everybody else the same embargo date. Like usually the day before the game comes out or something, that will be the embargo for all kinds of content. Thinking like, yeah, because then everybody is streaming the game and it will push it to the front page of Twitch. But I always ask like, okay, yeah, show me a recent example where that worked for you for your indie game because I can't name any. And I'd much rather give people who do video content an embargo that ends earlier, so they spread out their videos more. And then, like the rule of familiarity, right? That doesn't work if 500 people are streaming at the same time, versus if 100 people per day are streaming it over 5 days. The chances of you
Hmm.
encountering that same game multiple times, that happens more if it happens over a longer period of time.
Interesting.
And as a plus side, they create content, and that's content you can use in your marketing. Like if somebody interesting played your game, you can tweet about it or you can post it on social media. Versus if everything happens on the day before release, then suddenly you're just spamming your own followers by reposting every tweet that mentions you or every social media post that mentions you. Suddenly your feed becomes like just other people talking about the game. But it doesn't do the same thing if you do it on one day versus if you can spread that out over a longer period. If someone tells me like, we need you to send out our press releases, we are at 250,000 wish lists, back of my mind I'm going like, this can't fail. Like, I'm gonna help this game the best I can, but it will probably do well regardless of my involvement because it already got to like numbers of success.
Right.
But if they tell me I'm at 5,000 wish lists or something, and the game is launching in 2 weeks, what can we still do? Then I'm going to put that embargo date for video coverage way earlier, because I need those 2 extra weeks for people to create content, for people to see it, and then click the wishlist button, and then maybe that 5,000 grows to 8,000 or 9,000, and it might just be that magical number they need to get into popular and upcoming or into new and trending later.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that number fluctuates, but somewhere around 7,000 up to 10,000, depending on what other games are popular at the moment.
What day.
What day, yeah, because it's being updated constantly, right? Robby, thanks so much for being here. If anyone wants to recruit you to help out with the marketing and PR of their game, it looks like piratepr.com is where they go. If they're interested in your reviews.
Yeah, search Bloody Good Reviews and you'll find my social media accounts. Because like I said, I started at This Gen Gaming. I even wrote for Windows Reports for a while. And currently I'm doing Life is Xbox. Wow. Which should be called Life is Not PlayStation because they also do Steam and Switch reviews. Just not PlayStation for some reason. I didn't decide.
I'm guessing spite. That's probably a spiteful reason.
Yes.
Well, I will put links to all of this stuff in the podcast post, in the YouTube videos, and obviously through my newsletter, ways to contact you and follow your work. And I will be doing the same. Yeah, thanks a lot.
I love chatting with you.
Robby and I actually talked a lot more, especially about how to avoid keyscammers. That part of the conversation is going to take a lot of video editing time, so I hope to get to that eventually. I want to thank Robby again for being on the show and for being such a kind and knowledgeable friend. Robby's been sending me all kinds of great resources and events to help me promote my game Pixel Washer, so thank you, Robby. We've also cross-posted my guide on creating a developer or publisher homepage on Steam. On piratepr.com, it's called How to Create an Official Developer Steam Page and Why You Should. And you should definitely check that out because it has all kinds of new steps and advice from Robby. That's it for now. Coming soon is How to Get Back into Game Development with Sean McKenzie, so look for that soon. Now it's time for you to go make the game.